Good afternoon and welcome. Today we have a very special afternoon in store for you. We have a special guest, Rabbi Edwin Farber from Beth Torah, Benny Rock campus. He's going to talk about the similarities and how really all the holidays that we've just gone through and are going through, Passover, Good Friday, and Easter, are so similar and have one message and one story to tell, and then how similar all of this is to what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. So we hope you listen through to it because it's really a spectacular afternoon in store. We'll also be talking to you about what's happening with Natalia, all the events that we have on the island. Carrie, of course, will be here from the spa. Just to let you know, in addition to that, everything is going on schedule. We will be starting our construction, as we've talked about, for the tennis area, the offices, the spa, and the deli. And then in addition to that, we will be breaking ground come this summer, as we said, for the Island Club and the Island Pool. So all is on schedule, all is very exciting, and I will tell you, it's almost like a new beginning for the island as well. So I only can say thank you, enjoy. Good afternoon again, and we have a special guest, and let me explain why we have this special guest. Before I tell you who he is, the reason I thought about this is we get so many questions during the course of this time of the year regarding the similarities, the differences, the interrelationships between Passover, Good Friday, and obviously Easter. And I said to myself, you know, it's very difficult because it has the pros and the cons of what happened, what are the similarities. People watch the Ten Commandments and they see, okay, this is going on. Were these Jews? Were they Philistines? Were they Palestinians? Were they Egyptians? Who were they really? But at the end of the day, obviously there are very serious answers to it, and there is a definite relationship to all of the holidays. So it's really not just about Passover being for Jews. It's also, what does the Last Supper mean? How is the Good Friday, Easter? So who better to ask than I asked if Rabbi Farber, who is the Rabbi Emeritus of Beth Torah. Rabbi has been my teacher, and I've studied with him for years, but more importantly, he is a teacher, he's a student of all of this. And we started talking about this just generally, and I said, you know, would you come on and do this program with us and explain it to people? Because I get tons of questions, and I don't have the knowledge that obviously the rabbi would. So I want to thank you, Rabbi Farber, for being here today. Rabbi Farber and I go back just a few days, just a couple of days. But you heard what I said. And the question, I guess, to start with is, you have Passover. People see the movie, The Ten Commandments. Right. They have a certain understanding of what really happened. But then you have Good Friday, in this case, the same day. Right. And then 2 days later, you have Easter. So just briefly speaking, I put a few little questions together. What are some of the parallels between the Good Friday, Easter, and the preparations for Passover?
Okay. So before I get into those details,
please.
You pointed out, first of all, that they always are very close to each other. This year, exceptionally close to each other.
Yes.
That literally, Friday night was a Seder, and Friday was Good Friday, and Sunday was the second day of Passover, and it was Easter. But they're always very close. They're always very close in the calendar. Unlike Christmas and Hanukkah, you may notice, Hanukkah sometimes falls out 3 weeks before Christmas, and then sometimes it falls out on Christmas or right after Christmas. We like when it falls out after Christmas, then we can buy the gifts, discounted, right? So it's easier, right? But that's because we're on a lunar calendar. The Jewish people still adhere to a lunar calendar, and the world, of course, is on a solar calendar, and Christmas is on a solar calendar. So it's always December 25th. But you notice Easter's not always a particular date, because it's also connected to the lunar calendar. So therefore, Passover and Easter will always coincide because, as you pointed out, and here's a parallel, Good Friday, well, the night before Good Friday, the night before Jesus was executed by the Romans, he was attending a Passover Seder. So it coordinated then, and it will always be very close. And therefore, the two holidays have a greater impact in terms of their being so close to each other on the calendar. Now, the reason that Passover and Easter resonate so strongly is because both represent what we call the master story. Every people, every religion, every country, every ethnic group has what's called the master story. So I'll give you an example. What's the master story of the American people? The American Revolution. That's our master story, right? We rebelled against unfair taxes and against a king, and we did it based upon a Declaration of Independence, and then fought a battle, won our freedom, and then established a new United States of America under a constitution, eliminating a monarchy. It's our master story. It's who we are. And the fundamental basis of that master story is the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Now, the Jewish people have a master story. It's the story of the Exodus from Egypt. Because when you think about it, the book of Exodus, the book of Leviticus, the book of Numbers, the book of Deuteronomy all take place in this 40-year period from when we left Egypt to when we stood at the foot of entering the land of Israel after having been in the desert for 40 years. So all 4 books, with the exclusion of the 5th book, Genesis, which takes place before Egypt, but even the last chapters of Genesis talk about how we got into Egypt and how we ended up enslaved there. They all deal with this story of the Exodus. Major holidays. Passover, the best known, of course. A holiday called Shavuot. Not everybody knows much about it, but it's the gift of the Torah at Mount Sinai. And Sukkot, where we build those huts, right? And we eat and dwell in those huts. That's the wandering in the desert. So the 3 major holidays of the Jewish people: Passover, Pentecost, that's what Shavuos is called in English, and Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles or the Feast of Huts. They're all about this one story. So this story of slavery to freedom, receiving the 10 Commandments, right? That's the basic text, like the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Our text is the 10 Commandments and the Torah. They all occur around this one story that defines who we are. Now, the master story of the Christian religion, the Christian world, is the birth of Jesus on Christmas, the death of Jesus on Good Friday, and the resurrection of Jesus on Sunday. That is the fundamental teaching of Christianity. It's their master story. It explains their values, their perspective on the world, and perspective on life and our interaction with God. So these are our master stories, and they intersect on Passover and Easter. Our master story and their master story. So it makes sense, of course, it's going to be over history a lot of interaction between the 2 peoples and religious traditions. Sometimes not pleasant, not good, particularly in the Middle Ages. Sometimes wonderful, particularly in the United States of America, where Jews and Christians have interacted on a much more friendly level, to the point now where it's friendship and it's cooperation and respect, mutual respect. That's why we're doing this. Right? That's why we can have these discussions. That was unique in the United States of America, but fortunately, when you get to any democratic country, you will find a very good interaction between the religions, learning from each other, and telling and learning each other's stories.
So I have a question. You know, in the movie, The 10 Commandments, or in the book?
Second greatest movie ever made.
Oh, and what was the first?
Godfather 2. Godfather 2 is better than Godfather 1, you have to admit that. Godfather 3, okay.
Okay, but Godfather 2 is good.
They should have stopped after 2. Godfather 2, number 1, 10 Commandments, number 2. Okay,
so before, let's say, the Jews left Egypt, were they Jews? Were they Palestinian? Because at that point, there weren't a lot of religions, was there?
Well, there was paganism, which means every culture, every country, every ethnic group had its pantheon of gods. Egypt had its main god was Pharaoh was God. Then it had the sun god and all sorts of gods. And then you had the one group of people who said, no, one God, one morality, one ethics. See, it's not numbers. It isn't like, I got one God and you have 13 gods. No, I got 22 gods. That's not at all relevant. When you have one God, then you have only one source of morality and ethics. You don't have situational ethics. You don't have where one culture says, well, our God is God of war, so we can conduct war. And the other God says, no, our God is God of peace, so we don't fight wars, right? This is moral, this is not moral, based upon what your particular gods stand for. Jewish tradition, Abraham brought this idea of one God, and one God means one creator, which means every human being is created in the image of that God, so everybody's equal. Which is why we couldn't accept Pharaoh's idea that people were born to be slaves and some were born to be royalty, which has existed in most of human history. Think about it. In most of human history, people are born to rule, and other people are born to be slaves, and that's how they run the country. But Judaism comes along and says that's not possible. There's one God. We're all created in the image of God, that one God, so we're equal. And therefore, there's one morality and one ethic. There's no morality that calls for murder. It could be killing you because you're defending yourself. You've been attacked. You defend yourself. But murder is an unprovoked killing of another human being without any justification. And that, of course, is exactly what we're watching, unbelievably, in the 21st century. One country literally murdering the civilians of another country. It's an unbelievable phenomenon.
Well, and that was going to be something I was going to ask you. It's almost like there's a parallel of what went on with Pharaoh to what's going on now in Russia.
Absolutely.
It's like it's reliving something that took place thousands of years ago.
Right. And you know how you can't. The parallel is unbelievable. I didn't think of it till you just said it, by the way, Bob. So thanks for jogging my thought process. In the Torah, in the 5 books of Moses, the motivation for Pharaoh to enslave the people is twofold. First is he simply wanted free labor. Okay, that's a motivation for many tyrants. Enslave the people, free labor, right? And control. But then it says he became fearful because the Israelite nation, we were Hebrews, we were Israelites, we weren't Jews yet. Jews come later, right? We are an ethnic group.
And that's what I was asking. We
Right.
weren't Jewish at that. There was no such thing as Jews then.
We don't become Jews really until we enter into the covenant with God. And even then, we're still the children of Israel.
Yeah.
Jews was actually, interesting enough, we didn't call ourselves Jews. When we were exiled into Babylonia and Persia after the destruction of the temple in 586 BCE, they had to, this group that just arrived, what are they? Well, where did we come from? A country called Yehudah, Judah in English, Yehudah. So if you come from Yehudah, you must be Yehudim, which translates, if you come from Judah, you must be Jews, right? So they called us Jews. We were the children of Israel, Israel being Jacob and the 12 tribes. Right. So that's our origin, and that period of time when Pharaoh saw us multiplying and we were growing as a nation, and it appeared to him that we were becoming too numerous. And what was he afraid of? He was afraid, and he says it straight in the Torah, in the book of Exodus, that the Jewish people, this Israelite people, will grow in numbers and they will join with an enemy that's attacking from outside and assist them in overthrowing the Egyptians, overthrowing Pharaoh. This is the classic anti-Semitic complaint, anti-Semitic accusation has been used ever since Pharaoh, right? The Jews live in a country, and then they're accused of a dual loyalty. You can't trust them. They will be loyal to someone else who is an enemy of our country. It's a classic, and of course, as we know, Jews have always been loyal to the country in which they live. Sometimes they were oppressed, and sometimes they were persecuted, and then, of course, nobody's going to be totally loyal, but they always obeyed the laws of the country that they lived in. But Pharaoh got afraid. He says, no. I have to prevent them from multiplying. I have to control them. And then he began to inflict harsh treatment of the Israelite slaves. That's when God said, no. You've gone too far, Pharaoh. You can't do this to other human beings. I'm going to have to take them out of Egypt and punish you unless you relent. So that was the reason. Now, what did Putin do? Putin invented a lie. He's going to rescue the Russians who live in Ukraine from the Nazis. Right, Zelensky, a Jew who has a grandfather who survived the Nazis, is being called a Nazi. It's a patently absurd claim, which was Pharaoh's patently absurd claim. Israelites were not that numerous, but they appeared in his eyes to be that numerous. And of course they wouldn't join with an outside enemy. They were living a very nice life in Egypt until they were, and surprisingly, enslaved. So Putin, every dictator does the same thing. You invent a lie about a people, turn the population against them, and then take action against them. Hitler was, of course, the expert, right? But the Soviet Union did the same thing. They did it to Christians, they did it to Jews. They said, this religion that you believe in, this Bible, you Christians, you Jews, it will lead you to rebel against the Soviet Union. And you know what? Ironically, they were correct in this way. Every dictator always forbids the reading of the Bible, whether it be the Old Testament or the New Testament. The Bible, the Christian Bible, the Hebrew Bible, which is included in the Christian Bible, is forbidden. Why? Because you have people say they're reading a story about when Pharaoh rises up and enslaves you, you should rebel and go free. They don't want to hear that story. They don't want people to hear that story that enslaving a people is immoral and unethical. So don't read that story. Or in the New Testament, where there's a belief in Jesus dying for the sins of the nation, the sins of humanity, in order for humanity to be redeemed. Oh, they don't want to hear that. They don't want a loyalty to Jesus who can redeem you. We're the state. We're the dictators. We're the communists. We're the fascists, whatever it is. We are your saviors. The state will save you. The government will save you. Not Jesus, not the God who took out Pharaoh. They become, when they say that communism is atheist, it's a lie. They weren't atheists. They just traded gods. They made their government the God. Look at China. They're ready to make Xi the permanent ruler. What is that, right? That is making him into a god. They did that with Hitler, right? They did that with all the communist leaders of the Soviet Union until came
Stalin,
Gorbachev. Stalin, Mussolini, right? The emperor in Japan, right? They destroyed their country because of this loyalty to an emperor. Castro in Cuba. He ruled until he passed it over to his brother. The old joke, and his brother was worse, right?
But what's so amazing about this is the parallel of what's going on now. First of all, to have an invasion in a country in this time and day is...
He wants to enslave them, take away all their freedoms.
It's exactly the story.
It's the story.
All over again.
Absolutely. It is absolutely the story all over again. It's also the story of World War II all over again, in the sense that he believes that no one is going to come to their rescue. Yeah. Hitler, at first, thought that the world would take the Jews, right? He wanted to get rid of as many Jews, and he never thought the world would let him kill them. Even he had some rational mind, like the world is not going to let me do this, so I will scare them all away, and the world will take them. Then he learned two things. The world won't take them, and nobody's going to stop them. Well, the fear now is that we're at a point where if we don't do more, and I'm not advocating for military intervention, just giving him every tool he needs, plus crushing the Russian economy to pressure them, Putin doesn't believe we're actually going to keep this up.
No.
He believes that we're going to let our foot off the pedal, right? And if that happens, Ukraine will eventually fall. So it's the same thing. Hitler went forward because he came to the conclusion the world won't stop him. Until Putin believes that the world will understand the lesson of Easter and Passover. With Easter, it's one man who's seen by the religious devotees as the Son of God, one man coming forward and sacrificing his life as Jesus did, right, on the cross, to die for the sins, to redeem humanity. Or in the case of Judaism, whereas the God of Israel comes forth, sends Moses as a representative. Moses doesn't do this, God does this, and says, I will take you out of Egypt. I will free you from Pharaoh, right? If somebody if the world doesn't come forward, as did Jesus, as understood by the Christians, as did the God of Israel, the one creator, in the case of Pharaoh, if we don't imitate Jesus as a savior, who sacrifices his body and his life to save people in accordance with the Christian interpretation, or Moses, who risks his life to go back and deliver this message. If we don't have a Moses and we don't have a Jesus, they will fall. And then we have worse problems.
So Easter Sunday is Jesus coming back.
Right. It's the resurrection.
It's the resurrection. In the Judaism, we're waiting for that to happen,
correct,
so to speak.
Correct. One of the major differences.
That's what, yeah.
Excellent. The major, you just zoomed in on it, right? I use the word Zoom a lot. Right? It's become part of my camp.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm Zooming all the time, right?
Because
So,
it's true. I mean, here you have one that says he does come back on Easter Sunday,
right.
and we are waiting for the Messiah,
Right.
so to speak.
The Jewish people are awaiting the coming of the Messiah. And Passover is that, because we have at Passover that cup of wine that we don't drink. We have 4 cups we drink, 1 cup we don't drink. It's a symbol. It's called the cup of Elijah the prophet. Eliyahu, these are all the different names for Elijah.
Right.
Elijah represents in Jewish tradition the coming of the redemption, the coming of the Messiah, meaning we celebrate on Passover the redemption of the Jewish people from slavery, but that's only the Jewish people. The second half of the Seder, after the meal, we talk about God. You can't just redeem the Jews from slavery. You have to redeem all of humanity. So he put out Elijah, and Elijah represents the redemption of all of humanity. It's universal. The last song that we sing at the Seder, the cute Chadgaja about the kid, the goat, is a song about universal redemption. So Passover is about universal redemption, and we're awaiting the coming of the Messiah. In Christianity, the Messiah came. So we might ask, but who's been redeemed? The world's a mess, right? Well, the answer from Christianity is the redemption is of you as an individual. Your soul is redeemed. Jesus will come a second time, and he will redeem all of humanity. And the Jews say, the second time's the first time. We're still waiting. So we have the same goals, interestingly enough. They're both waiting for the return of Jesus to redeem all of humanity. And the Jews are waiting for Jesus, for the coming of a Messiah to redeem all of humanity. As far as our individual redemption, we accomplish that on our own by performing acts of loving kindness, good deeds, repentance, and atonement. So we're responsible for redeeming ourselves. In Christianity, Jesus kind of gave a helping hand. That's where Judaism and Christianity diverge. But we don't diverge on Passover and Easter. We say we're waiting for the return of the Messiah or the first coming of the Messiah, but the goal is the same, the redemption of all of humanity.
So again, to go back to what we started this whole thing all about, the similarity of Easter and Passover are amazing.
Even the eggs.
Yeah, I mean,
We have eggs, they have eggs.
That's what I'm saying. It's people don't realize it's really 2 totally diverse religions with all these similarities.
Similar goals, similar belief in the ultimate redemption of humanity, similar opposition to the idea of anyone enslaving another person. Monotheism. Christianity is a monotheistic religion, as is Islam and Judaism, because they all come from Judaism. And this belief that all human beings are in fact created equal, and this belief that your job here is to do deeds of loving kindness. The values of Christians and Jews are very, very similar. And that's the reason why it works so well in America. Because in America, the government stayed out of religion and didn't promote one or the other. And once that happens, you got all sorts of power struggles, and you have all sorts of corruption, right? You know, obviously, you get involved with government and religion, boom, you got corruption automatically. But here, Jews and Christians, we didn't have government promoting anything. We were left to our own means, right? And what happened was we discovered that we have the same Bible, and we have the same goals in America to create the same type of communities, family values, belief in justice, belief in kindness, taking care of the poor, taking care of the widow, taking care of the orphan, taking care of the disadvantaged. We had those same values. So we focused on the similar values rather than the differences in some of the philosophy of the religion. And as a result, in no other country in history, the Jews and Christians worked so well together to develop this, the greatest country in the world.
Because they don't fight each other. They basically, it's the 10 Commandments.
We got back to the fundamentals of what brought us together. Now, obviously, there were periods of times when we had severe anti-Semitism in this country, particularly during World War II and Father Kaufman, and there was actually anti-Semitic attacks right on their radios. In those days, it was more radio than TV. We overcame that, right? Obviously, there's always an undercurrent of anti, right? The ones who suffered the most in the history of this country, obviously the black community, right? Jews will not even claim this comparison of suffering to the black. There's nothing in comparison to what the black community did. We were never enslaved. We were discriminated against. But you know what? Catholics were discriminated against, and Italians, right, and Chinese, and the Irish, because people fear the stranger. Go back to Pharaoh. He feared the stranger, and the Torah says there's nothing to fear, Pharaoh. You can't harm them and control them just because they're strangers. We don't accept that. You know, the command in the 5 books of Moses, it appears more than any other, do not oppress the stranger.
Interesting.
Right? But yes, in our country, like every other country, when a new group comes, they're fearful. They'll take my jobs. Who are these people? What are their values? And it takes a while to overcome it. It's a tremendous ongoing struggle because human beings fear people who are different.
And on that point, though, wouldn't you say then that was the biggest fear the Romans had against Jesus, that he's a stranger.
Absolutely.
He's preaching good. Well,
what
you know.
Jesus was preaching, by the way, and many of the things he said at the Last Supper are quotes from our liturgy. He's doing a Seder of sorts, right? They didn't have exactly the Seder that we have today, but they had the beginnings. So, yes, he was quoting the liturgy. So that we have so much in common. And what is feared is this idea of equality. Everyone is equal under God. Everyone has the same value as a human being. And there are people who have power who don't want to see that happen.
Yeah.
Because that's how you keep power, right? It's been in every society. Now, it's been less in the democracies of the West than in any other countries. Far, 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 far less. And the proof of that is we have this debate at the border. It's a political issue. I don't get into it. But I look and I say, millions of people want to come here. I don't see anybody running away in the other direction, right?
No,
because they know it's better. Is it perfect? We're not even close to perfect,
right?
No human being is close to perfect. No country is close to perfect. But on the scale, their feet are telling us, we want to be here because it will be better for us. Remember back when they had the Berlin Wall?
Of course.
Right? West Germany, East Germany. East Germany was the Soviet Union. West Germany was free. Did anybody ever go from West Germany to sneak across the wall into East?
Never.
No. Nobody would do that. Everybody was going the other direction to get out. So the democracies, the Western democracies, have provided the best opportunity. Not perfect, not even close to perfect, but by far the best opportunities to realize the teachings of Christianity and the teachings of Judaism, the teachings of that Bible that we share as a common denominator to our faiths and that upon which this country was founded. Every one of the founders was steeped in biblical religion. They were not trying to promote one religion or the other. They were deists. They were Christians by birth, but they were deists. They believe in a creator who created us equal. You see that all over the Declaration of Independence. No kings, no monarchs, citizens and a government elected by the citizens. That is from the Old Testament and the New Testament. And when you combine that together in the Western democracies, you get strength. What scared me terribly is when in our country they tried to remove the 10 Commandments from the courts. Do they not understand that the 10 Commandments, which is not a religious, it doesn't promote anything other than equality under the law and that we're all created in the image of the Creator. I don't even have to say God, whatever you want to call it.
Whoever you call.
We're all equal.
Right.
You remove that from the courts of the United States of America? What are you doing? That's our foundation. It's like removing the Declaration of Independence. It's not a religion issue. It's talking about what our values are and what our beliefs are. You start to do that, the family's going to start collapsing, the community's going to start collapsing. And the other thing about Easter and Passover, go back to your first question, what's in common? Would anybody miss Easter dinner?
No.
No. I grew up, I had many Jewish friends, but I had non-Jewish friends. And I knew that on Sunday, as morning, they weren't there to play, go swimming and throw the football,
they were having
right?
dinner.
And at dinner, Sunday night, when usually we'd play a little bit of football out in the street, no, they would not Easter dinner. Who's going to miss the Seder? Who's going to miss Passover? Even if you just go home and go to somebody's house, a friend, a relative, and eat a piece of matzah and say, Happy Passover.
But you know, it's funny you say that because on the island, you know, we have tremendous events all year round.
Yeah.
And yet the two most popular times are, we have a Passover Seder on the island, we have a Passover dinner on the island, and then we have an Easter Sunday.
Right.
And they are the busiest events all year round because you're right, nobody misses them. But it's more amazing as you said, the similarities
Yes.
of religions. And that weekend, this past weekend that just happened, and that's why I want you here, is you talk about Passover, Good Friday, and Easter Sunday, and they're all basically saying the same thing.
Hope. They're all hope for redemption of humanity, which means seeing everyone as created in the image of God and giving everyone equal opportunity and caring for those who cannot care for themselves. You know, Americans may disagree about welfare systems and how you help people, but there's something they don't disagree on. Someone who cannot help themselves because of some type of circumstance, physical disability, mental, whatever it is, there's no American who doesn't say, let's help. They argue about who really needs help. That's a political argument, and it's a legitimate argument. But we don't argue about the fundamental. The person who needs help because they cannot do it themselves, not due to laziness, not due to disinterest, but due to illness or disadvantage, whatever it might be, Americans say, let's help. Let's help. What we don't agree on is how to help. That's a political issue. You can invite somebody else to handle that.
Never have. And there's no answer.
Right. There's no answer, but we have to never give up the debate. Because while we're talking about it, people are suffering. We have to find solutions for people who really can't help themselves. And we do have a lot of solutions, but not enough yet. There is a crisis of homelessness. And think about that. We went out into the desert and we were homeless, right? Sukkahs, we built a hut, a temporary hut to remind ourselves that we were wandering the desert. We had no home. We had left Egypt and we had not entered the land. We're in a desert, the Sinai desert, right? That's what the holiday is about. But who protected us? According to the story, God gave us protection, provided us with manna from heaven, provided us with water, with wells. He located water, took care of us. God took care of us. And then God said to us, I did that for you in the desert. Now it's your job. You take care of people. So the whole holiday is about caring for people, a nation that was homeless. So how is it in America, with all these debates, can't anybody come up with some answers? The richest country in the history of the world can't come up with an answer about how to deal with homelessness, which we know is fundamentally connected with mental illness. Yeah. Yes, there's some economic causes, but those are easily fixed. That's not a problem. But when people are ill and the illness leads to drug addiction, there has to be answers, not only for them, but for our society in general. And the fact that they're using it as political football, they love the issue. Why solve the issue when you can use it against the other party? It's a disgrace. And it's why, by the way, right? What's Congress's approval rating in this country? Right.
Nothing.
Probably below 20%.
Right.
Right. And what do people, and the jokes about politicians, and it's not nice because we have some wonderful politicians, like you.
Not me.
Just kidding, right? Well, you have people in Aventura, right, Williams Island, running the show, and they're doing a great job, right? Why? It's very simple, because you care about the people here.
Yes, we do.
None of you are doing it for yourselves, believe me, right?
No.
It's going to cost you money, ain't going to make you rich, that's for sure, right? So there are many, many politicians who really devote their lives to help people. Their motivations are good. And I don't like when they get caught up in our negativity about politicians, because there's a lot of good ones. But we also know there's a lot of people out there playing games, and it's all for themselves and their own power. And that's why people don't trust them. They don't trust them.
So, and that's what goes back to these 3 days. Mm-hmm. Trust. Lack of trust,
right.
And a great deal of fear.
Yes, absolutely.
So how do you sum up this holiday, these 3 holidays, so to speak?
Right. They're all about hope, salvation, belief in God in the sense that God wants to see a redeemed world, but is expecting us to do a lot of that redemption. He's given us his teachings. They're in the Old Testament, they're in the New Testament. They give us very clear instructions how to take care of those in need, very clear instructions about what is moral and immoral, what's ethical and unethical, very clear instructions how to conduct our families and how to educate our children. Both holidays are very child-oriented. I don't think we mentioned that, you know? Easter, the Easter egg hunt, everything's about teaching the kids this message of the redemption of humanity by Jesus, who they see as the Savior. And Passover, everything's about the kids. We have all sorts of things in the Seder night that include the kids. And here, the most fascinating thing, as Moses was about to leave Egypt, God told him what to tell the people. Now, you might think he would tell them, okay, we have to prepare for this desert. We have to prepare for this war that will break out as we try and enter the land of Canaan. We have to worry about the Egyptians rushing us. He didn't talk about any of that. You know what he said? God said to him, as you leave Egypt, make sure you tell your children the story. Everything is about tell the children the story, teach them the lessons. That's what they do on Easter. That's what we do on Passover. It's what we share. If you don't pass these lessons on to the next generation, then what will they embrace? When there is a vacuum, then they can get sucked into all sorts of very, very bad groups because they don't have a fundamental belief to say, what you're telling me I should be doing, no, I know that's not right. If they have that fundamental teaching and they know who they are, they understand the teachings of the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, in terms of caring for the poor, caring for the disadvantaged, fairness, equality, then they know when there's a group out there, an ideology out there, a cult out there that's trying to suck them in, they have a foundation. Without a foundation, they're lost.
Well, just to put this all into perspective, when we started the conversation, I would say most people that will watch this will say these are such different holidays with totally different meanings and totally different beliefs and totally different religions. And after listening to it, you realize it's all about the same thing. It's doing for those that can't do for themselves. And the redemption, whether it be through Jesus, whether it be the Messiah, whether it be whatever the case may be, really it's about oneself. Right. You're redeeming yourself. You're making yourself a better person.
Then you can work for the redemption of others. Right. You have to strengthen yourself.
Yes.
Right. What does it say in Hebrew when we finish 5 books of Moses, each book? We say chazak, chazak v'nit chazek. Chazak means strength. Chazak, strength. Strength, and if we're strong, v'nit chazek, then we're all strong together. Yep. But if I don't strengthen myself, how am I going to help anybody else?
And basically, that's what Jesus was saying when he died for the people's sins. He was
Absolutely.
saying, do as I'm teaching you.
Exactly. He was doing it, and we learn it by studying the Passover story and saying, just as God freed the Israelites from slavery. And by the way, many others joined the Israelites. It wasn't only Hebrews. A mixed multitude, the Torah says, joined the Israelites. Threw their lot, cast their lot with the slaves who were leaving. They took the chance, right? So that's what the Torah is saying. You have to choose freedom. Yeah. And then you have to educate your children to understand there is always a Pharaoh, there's always a Putin, there's always a Hitler, there's always a Stalin, there's always a Mao, there's always a Castro. There is always someone who wants to take your freedoms away. In every single generation, we say that to Seder, in every single generation, someone will rise up to take away your freedoms and maybe even your life. And you have to know who they are and be prepared. And through the lessons of Christianity, to strengthen yourself and to believe in the power of redemption, and through the lessons of Judaism, which is we have to take Pharaoh down, we have to resist Pharaoh. You join together those two traditions, and you have the most powerful force for freedom in the history of the world.
Well, now you understand why I asked you to be here today and why I thought who better to say, because it's amazing. I mean, you hear this and you have such a different perspective on what's really going on in the world. But I can't thank you enough for being here today, Rabbi, because it really puts so much into perspective. It tells us there aren't all these differences. There aren't all these issues amongst ourselves. It's really about believing in oneself, and then you can help. It's the old expression, if you're in a plane, put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and then help others.
That's one of the greatest lessons. Yeah. It's a brilliant idea. You have to strengthen yourself before you can help others.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you for being here today.
So happy Passover, everybody. It's still going on. I hope you had a good Easter. And I know that it was a wonderful, wonderful week on this island.
It was.
And throughout, boy, have we been blessed with the greatest weather I've ever seen for Passover and Easter.
Normally never happens.
Normally it's 92 degrees and we're for schwitz. We're just sweating it away, right? This is gorgeous. This is
It
a
is.
special blessing that we received, and
Wow.
now we understand why everybody wants to be here for Passover and Easter.
That's right. That's right. Again, I hope you've all enjoyed this and learned from it, and I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you're watching this, we'd like to welcome you as always. Today we have Natalia with us, and I call Natalia the Julie of Love Boat, of our Love Boat. And I'm sure you may not know who that is, but there was a TV series, Love Boat, and Julie was the social director, and she was the cruise director. And you're like that. You're our cruise director of Williams Island, and we are on a cruise. We live on a cruise. So tell us what's been going on and what is going on.
I like that name. Just want to start off with that.
Okay.
Just kind of going back to the events that we have had. Spring Dinner Dance was amazing. Everyone had a lot of fun. We actually have photos and videos from that night on the Williams Island email that went out. If you get that, take a look at it. You can see all those photos. We've had so much going on. We had Passover, we had Easter, kicked it off with the Easter egg hunt as well. Lots of photos for all those different events. It was beautiful to see all the families coming together. Big turnout for the egg hunt. We had about at least 50 kids running around
Really?
getting eggs
Yeah,
in the tennis
fantastic.
courtyard. And now we're getting ready, gearing up for Mother's Day coming up. So we will be having a brunch. Make sure you get those reservations in if you want to join us here on the island. And then for the end of May, we are also planning something for Memorial Day weekend, looking at doing a barbecue. More to come on that. We have the flyer coming out soon just to give you all those final details as well.
You know, it's interesting, the demographics of the island are changing so drastically. I mean, I was there at the Easter egg hunt and the Easter luncheon and the Passover, and there is such a disparity of ages.
Yes.
I mean, Passover, probably the average age was 60, and the Easter egg was 4 years old. Then you had the Easter day, which was in the 40s and 50s. And it's amazing what has happened, and I guess with the city of Aventura opening up 2 schools, and having literally, you can live in the city, go to school for free, and it's almost like a private school, and start out in kindergarten, go through high school. We have seen the beneficiary. We've been the beneficiary of that.
Absolutely.
So you have to start rethinking.
And catering more to the families,
Yeah,
younger kids.
yeah.
We saw what a great turnout. You were there to see
Oh, I did.
all the fun that everyone was having. So definitely more to come, and we want to make sure that we target everyone so the young ones can have fun with us.
You know, the only thing I didn't see is Jeff Klein wasn't there to get his face painted. What do you think? You know, did you see that? I was
He's gonna
looking
need
for
to
him.
join us next
He
time
does.
with
I
those
think
face
he
painting.
does. You know, it's. I tried, but they said it won't help. But anyway, I thank you so much for everything you do. You create such excitement on the island for everybody.
Thank you so
And
much.
I thank you.
appreciate it.
Great. And welcome back. And as always, hi, Carrie.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
This is our favorite spa director, flautist, musician, queen of the island, amongst other things. But you're special. So with everything going on, tell us what's happening.
Well, I'd like to focus on the upcoming mini Olympics happening this Saturday at 9 a.m. It is our second type event, which is indoors and outdoors. We're doing a 15-mile bike ride inside of the group cycle room, followed by a 1-mile run. And then we have an amazing fitness circuit put together by Jackie Eschett, our class coordinator, out in the PO8 tennis parking lot. It's going to be a lot of fun. Space is limited, but we do have a couple of spots left that you can just sign up on the My Wellness app. It should be a beautiful day, probably a little warm, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're really looking forward to that.
Great.
As well as I want to focus on our youth programs that we have going on. So 14 and 15-year-olds, we have a youth certification program that we've been doing for about 5 years. It's been very successful. You can have details at the front desk. You can call the spa front desk for that. That's our 14 and 15-year-old youth certification program. A series of 5 sessions, then you have to pass a test, and then the youth can come in and use the gym and start their workout routine. We highly support getting our youth fit and interested in exercise in whatever way that we can. We also have Baby and Me swim classes. If you see this flyer, please pick it up or see it on your digital format. So this is on Thursday from 9 a.m. to 10. And we also have a Baby and Me water safety and swim class. The parent does need to be there with the child. The safety class is Monday and Wednesday from 4 to 4:30 right here at the Island Club pool. These swim classes are very popular. So just call again the spa front desk and we'll get you moving in the right direction. These programs are already in progress, so you can join in at any time. You just need to talk to the swim instructor, which they are all Red Cross certified, lifeguard certified, and they'll get you and your baby moving. So the ages is 6 months to 36 months. And then we have our youth swim program, 4 years to 8 years old. And this program is our summer program starting June 13th, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Island Club pool. It is an 8-week program. So we have a lot going on. If your child happens to fall outside of those categories, please give us a call. We have a lot of options for our youth, our children, to make sure that they are introduced to fitness, indoors, outdoors. Again, we have a lot of options. All you need to do is pick up the phone, call the front desk, they'll transfer it to myself, and I'll work out a program for you. We're very open. We're very excited about getting people fit of all ages. So I just really want to encourage our members and residents to reach out if they have a question or would like to get a program started.
We used to have a youth or accreditation, for a better word. Remember where they, before someone under 16 could come in, you worked with them.
So that's the youth certification.
Yeah, are you still doing that?
Yes, yes.
How is that going? Because now we're getting so many more. It is doing well, great.
Yes, yeah. We always have someone in progress. They train for 4 sessions with one of our trainers, and then they come to me for a final test just to make sure they understand how to work the machines, what kind of program they're going to do, because kids will do a completely different program because they're still growing, so you want to be very careful with kids. And then once they pass the test, they're allowed to come in on the gym floor only. They're not allowed to use the locker rooms or the pool, but they're allowed to come in on the gym floor, the main floor only.
And what's the minimum age of that?
14.
14, okay.
14, yeah. So we have really young, we have babies, we have up to 8 years, then we have the 14 and 15. But let's say the child is in between those ages, just reach out to us.
Now, what we've tried to do over the construction scheduling that we're doing for this building, the clubhouse and the pool, we arranged it so we'll have that pool open, I believe, till around the middle of August, which is when kids start to go back to school.
Right.
So I'm assuming then you're going to start putting together a youth program for the use of the pool, et cetera, for the summer?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll do something similar to what we did last year.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah. We'll always find a way. We're very creative.
No. And, we were talking to Natalia a few minutes ago because it's so important the demographics change here on the island.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, it's not just youth anymore, it's young families. It's
Yes.
teenagers.
Right.
So, we're going to be having meetings and Jeff will be handling it, but we're going to have to start putting together a whole program.
Yes.
So you'll have a little bit more to do in your spare time.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So you'll forget your social life, forget all that, and just stay here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we'll find time. But anyway, as always, you're amazing. You know that. I don't have to tell you that. And you can see how your training has helped me. It's amazing what it's done to me. I mean, I feel so good.
Yeah, so I'm waiting to see if Bob's going to start working at the spa.
I'm ready.
Right.
I'm ready. I was offered the beginner's class. One other thing, though, I think something we should talk about, just real briefly. We have the ability on the island, we have a phenomenal, obviously the biostation now, which does a lot of the longevity and the protective and proactive, but we also have a therapy department.
Yes.
And that's something, just briefly, let people understand what we have available to them on that.
So we have force therapy that is in kind of behind the retail area, but they also use our gym. So it's a full physical therapy department with full use of the equipment. They're incredible. They take insurance, and all you need to do is walk in, They're pretty easy about, saying hello to you and making an appointment on the spot, scheduling you in. But everyone has, not everyone, but a lot of people have been taking advantage of that for the last 5 years, I think.
So if a doctor gives us somebody a program for therapy purposes, can they follow that? Are they allowed to do that? They
Yes,
are.
yes.
Okay. So they're licensed in this.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely licensed.
And then the biostation is more the longevity, vitamins, supplemental, and all of that.
Making you work at your optimal level,
So giving you a better quality of life.
better quality of life. Yeah, absolutely.
I better go visit them. But anyway, thank you. That's great.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.